Hi everybody. So for this video, I'm going to focus on the research paper itself. So you're writing your research paper on the importance of being earnest. And I have a whole nother video about how to understand that play and what a satire is and so on and so forth. So if you're in the stage of reading that play, go ahead and watch that video and look at the slideshow that I have in our Georgia View page, and make sure you read the play. Remember that even though it seems long, it's an easy read. It won't take you very long to get through it all. So the research paper. I would go in and if you can print, go ahead and print these instructions. If not, make sure that you always have them open at all times. These instructions are designed to give you all the information that you need, including the schedule, which it tells you what time, when the outline and works cited page is due, when the first draft should be turned in. I want to individually conference with all of you through Zoom if we can. I find that one-on-one conferencing through Zoom is much more effective than me writing a great big long email saying, okay, I've looked at your first draft and here's what we need to do. It also saves time. It takes a long time if a paper leaves a lot of work for me to type up a long email, whereas we can have a Zoom conference in 15 or 20 minutes, boom, done. And usually that also gives you the chance to ask me questions as opposed to us get into an email exchange. So there's a period there where I want us to meet in order to allow me to give you notes on that. Plus, it'll allow us to get to know each other a little bit better. You don't necessarily have to have your camera turned on if you don't want me to see you, but it's nice to be able to put faces with names. And then, of course, the final draft will be due on the final day of the semester, and that is non-negotiable because once that final day of the semester comes in and the clock strikes midnight, bam, everything shuts down for the whole semester. So make sure you get that in. So pay very close attention to this. I've actually put things in red that are super important and things in blue that are also important, like the definition of satire. This is the Oxford English Dictionary one. So stick to the schedule. When you go into the research paper folder in our Georgia View page, you're going to see that there's a lot of stuff in it. Don't be daunted by that. Remember, we're spending 4 weeks on this assignment. And in the first week of that, all you're doing is really reading the play and taking the reading quiz anyway. So for the rest of this stuff, there's the instructions, which I'm going to ask you to always refer back to. And then there's like drop boxes. Pay close attention to the proposal. The way it's going to be designed is you're not really writing a paper. You're writing an outline. And I have a sample outline in there to show you that. So, in fact, I'll have another sample outline specific to a reading. It won't be the importance of being earnest because then you might use that for your own paper. But it will be specific to a reading. And then you can go to the next step, which of course will be the first draft. And then the next step, of course, will be the final draft. There's a lot of stuff in here on how to do proper research. Understand that Google is not going to get it for this assignment. In fact, Google will actually have you losing points. You're going to have to use something called Galileo. You probably were introduced to this in an English 1101 class, especially if you took me for English 1101. Galileo is a database that has peer-reviewed sources. And I have videos in there about what a peer-reviewed source is. Every video in that folder, by the way, is very short. So you're only going to need to spend about 3 or 4 minutes, not even that in most cases, watching these videos that explain what a peer-reviewed source is, that explains how to use Galileo, that explains how to find a peer-reviewed source, and so on and so forth. So you've got all of that. You've got the Galileo specific stuff. And then I've got PowerPoint presentations in there to help you out. And I've got documents on how to use the Cite tool, because when I look at the outline, and we'll talk more about that in the weekly video next week, I'm going to want you to have a specific outline that is going to be formatted a specific way. And the Works Cited page, I want to see that you know how to use that Cite tool and turn in an MLA Works Cited page. All right, so again, go through this. The other things I want to point out, make sure you look at the rubric very closely. So I've got my expectations here. I got that in red. But the rubric, you need to go through this and understand that, 10 points of your grade is going to be, did you turn in an outline or not? If you did, you get the whole 10 points. If not, then poof, gone. You've got the quality of sources. You got the formatting. I'm still seeing people turn in papers that are not formatted properly. So I've got that in here. I've got a thesis statement. I'm still seeing people turning in papers without thesis statements. It explains right here what makes a good thesis statement. And you go through this, there's structure, which basically means how the essay is organized. There's the main points. What point are you trying to make? And then how do you support it through the supporting details? Quotations. These quotations in this grade are going to be different from the previous two assignments because these quotations are going to actually mean how you quote from the play itself and how you quote from your research. And there are specific ways to do that. And I've got resources in that page in order to show you how to do that properly. So make sure that you pay close attention to that. So, this is a big project, and it's the highest percentage of your grade also. But I've given you plenty of resources in the form of videos, documents, PowerPoints. I've given you plenty of time because we're going to do this over 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm also going to conference with you, hopefully through Zoom, if you have that kind of capability. In fact, I would love for every one of you to want to have a video conference with me rather than making me write these great big long emails, so that I can have some back and forth dialogue, so that, if you have a question, you can ask me right then instead of writing it to me in an email. Who knows, it may take me an hour to answer, it may take me a day to answer, who knows, and then you get frustrated if you don't get an answer soon enough. Whereas if we have a conference, you get an immediate answer. So with all that in mind, that's what this whole research paper is about. So just understand that the skills you learn from this, even though you're writing a research paper on the importance of being earnest, the skills you're going to learn from this are going to be skills that you're going to need to use in all of your classes when your teachers tell you that you have to use databases to do your research. You have to use peer-reviewed sources or scholarly sources in order to do it. So don't just think that this is an English assignment. Think of this as a learning experience to help you in every class that you go into from here forward, and you should do well.